So we did something bad. We took a rental car through a romp in the woods. A rental car, the most precious commodity that a father has. He spends money to send a rental car to college. She goes there and gets driven by a bunch of guys. And you know what? I'm one of those guys. And I drove her for a little bit, played with her bags, slapped her around. I do this thing where I can't get off unless, well, let's not get into that. Anyway, we have a nicely abused rental car here. And now it's time for what every college girl knows, the end of college spray down. Going home to the family. I'm basically a D1 lineman, okay, plowing through these rental cars. And before I take them back to the daddy, I spray them down so they don't stink like penis. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna show you now what you do after you abuse a rental car, and there's gonna be no signs of foul play. Let's go ahead with the old high pressure rinse. Okay, let's give it the absolutely highest pressure possible. Just fuck them. Now see this seam right here? This seam, what most people don't realize, is completely watertight. Water sealed. There's absolutely no chance of water leaking into the light when you do this. QX80! It's almost like this vehicle's never seen a dirt road. What do you mean it looks like it's been off-roaded? This thing's showroom new. I wonder what's under here. What's under here? Is it a computer? Is this where the drive computer goes? Yeah, that about does it. I don't see any evidence of off-roading, do you? I don't see anything to suggest that this vehicle's been mistreated at all. John, is it airtight in there? Is it watertight? There's no water getting in, right? Sir, did you want the complete wash down? This is what most of you probably want to see me doing, is washing cars, right? What can I get for you? The full service, sir. Right up in there. Whoopsie. See, good as new, good as new. Oh, shit. Ah! 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 Very nice. Very nice. I like this SUV, that's nice. PC, most engines, like a modern gaming PC, most engines are water cooled. So this is healthy. There were never any oranges on here, sir. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you even mean there was an orange on the engine? We got chlamydia, bam, right here. And we hose them down, we hose them down. This is what they do when you get to college. After you're done, you gotta get hosed down. You gotta get clean. Here's how you pick a lock. Most people don't know this. Quick, get the lock. MDE, never dies, never refunds, never pays. Enterprise. Never pays Toyota credit. Fuck you. Fuck you, Toyota credit. Toyota Financial, I owe you $5,000 or $6,000. Yeah, I'll get that right away. Even if I have the money, you're never getting it. Oh, I'll get that for you right away, sir. Here you go. That's me rushing to pay Toyota Financial. That's me rushing to pay Aprilia Financial. Oh, I just remembered. I owe a bunch of people a lot of money. Let me sprint to go pay that. Barclays, I owe you over $2,000. American Express, I owe you over $2,000. Capital One, I think I owe you over $2,000. Aprilia, I owe you a lot of money. Verizon, I think I owe you $800. PayPal, I think I owe you $300. That's money, even if I had it, you're never getting it back. I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I'm stealing from you. I am stealing from you. And enterprise, if you determine that I owe you money somehow, I don't know, maybe you put the car up on a lift and you found out. Maybe someone who works at Enterprise is watching this. Ooh. Maybe you find out that I totally fucked up the four-wheel drive system in this SUV, and it makes a grinding noise now. And it's basically unusable on the highway. I don't care, I really don't. Because you're never getting that money back. You're never gonna get me to pay. What are you gonna do? You're gonna take me to small claims court? Is that what you're gonna do? No, because I'm gonna drag it out. I'm gonna drag it out for months. And then I'll say, I don't know, offer to pay you half in a lump sum. But then I don't have the money, so I'll pay you monthly. We'll work out some sort of installation plan. Just help me. We'll see. We'll see, Enterprise. I feel like there's a lot of young people who don't know how to go about, how to even start, or why it's even important to start acquiring wealth, and learning to protect wealth. And it's something that I wish I had been paying more attention to in my 20s, I guess. The value of the dollar going down, and the way that the way taxes work. I mean, it's just something to start paying attention to, and paying attention to ways to start becoming more parasitic. And that sounds bad, but your money, your tax dollars, are not helping the world. They're not going out. They're not being sucked out of your pocket to go out there to cure diseases or build great public works of art or infrastructure, useful infrastructure. Your tax dollars are being taken from you to support this gay oligarchy and pay for dying old people and pay for food for people who are just unwilling to work for the most part, and pay for missiles for Israel. So every dollar that gets sucked out of your pocket is being used for evil, with a capital E. And when I say become more parasitic, I mean, I think it's important for your generation, my generation, to just start gaming the system more. Game the system more. Bring it crashing down. Highlight the various the manifold inefficiencies and problems with the system, and in doing so, make the thing grind to a halt sooner. There's this real old timer. When I was younger, I always heard to pay off my debt. Pay off your debt. You should buy a house. Every American wants to buy a house. This is how you get rich. You buy a house. You pay off your debt. You don't have any debt. You don't want debt. That's bad. Debt's very bad. I'm in so much debt right now. I'm probably in $100,000 worth of debt. I probably have $100,000 worth of debt. Do you know what the negative consequences of me having $100,000 worth of debt is? I got a phone call that I don't pick up. You can't. There's no debtor's prison. The only negative is if I ever wanted to buy a house, which I don't want to do because that's retarded. Because the real estate market is in a bubble. Why would you buy a house while the real estate market's in a bubble? I guess my longest term plan would be to get rich enough that I can buy a modest house, cash, I don't know, or just have enough assets that my credit score is not comparatively as important. But the short-term debt thing, I mean, I know, Julian, doesn't debt bother you?
No. Dude, I'm in mad debt.
You pay your car. I guess you pay your car bill because you have to. So you repo your car.
Yeah. But, like, you taught me not to really give a shit about that. You and then I forget his name. There's this one real estate dude, but he has like a podcast talking about like personal finance.
Robert Kiyosaki?
No, he's like a bald Texas white dude.
Oh.
But yeah, he's very anti. Like, it's not worth like.
The thing about debt is that every rich person uses debt. Every rich person is always in debt. They're in millions of dollars of debt. Because what debt is you get to use somebody else's money now, and you don't pay taxes on it. When you get if you get a loan, I just took out a collateralized loan for $20,000 because I want to buy a Pontiac Firebird. So I'm not paying taxes on that $20,000. It's not the same as cashing out of stock market or Bitcoin or anything like that. So I'm not paying taxes on it, and I don't have to pay it. I don't have to pay that back for years, which this is probably not that interesting to people. Anyway, my point is that if you're the type of person, if you've heard from your parents that you have to be, you can't be in debt. You don't want to be in debt. Buy a house. Go buy a house right away. Buy a house right now. That's the only real value of real estate. You got to buy a house. Just start watching YouTube videos about money and realize that that's retarded. That's my only point.
I feel like that's one of the first things you learn watching YouTube videos about money.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty common sentiment. I think
it's like entry.
Robert Kiyosaki, Grant Cardone, Anton Creel, your personal house is not an asset, and that makes sense to me.
I'd say if you own land, that's different than owning a house.
I haven't looked into. I don't know about land ownership. I mean,
I think owning land's probably just pretty fire.
Well, I think the thing people don't count on is property tax. Property tax will take an investment of like $100,000 or whatever. Property tax will take whatever your investment is, and regardless of where the value of the thing goes, just over 100-year period, paying 2% or whatever percent property tax, it's just going to make your investment dwindle. It's not like buying something like metals or like even the S&P 500 mutual fund. Even though mutual funds are really probably a bad idea because they overweight stocks that are not the up and coming tech stocks. Like you buy a mutual fund, you're also buying shares of like ExxonMobil and like legacy companies that are not going to be around in 50 years. So it's kind of retarded. And they're also companies that are not going to be priced into the upcoming hype of the next 10 years or whatever. Anyway, land. Oh yeah. The thing that worries me about land and real estate especially is, for example, I think Biden and 𝓼𝓽𝓸𝓵𝓮 were proposing some kind of like 3% house tax on top of your local property tax or something. That's the thing that bothers me is if you buy land or you buy real estate, you don't really own it. You are kind of still renting it from the state. So if you don't pay your property tax, you don't pay your rental fee to the state, they take it away from you. You know what I mean?
That is kind of crazy.
That's crazy to me. It's not like that's why I like Bitcoin so much, is because if you have Bitcoin, you actually do own it. If you have control over the private keys, you are the owner of this digital bearer bond thing, essentially.
Yeah.
And the same thing with physical metals. Like it's not the best idea to have a bunch of physical metals in a cardboard box in your house, but if you do that, you at least own that shit, you know?
Yeah.
And if they want to take it away, you can make you can hide it, let's say. But that is not true for real estate and for land, because you'll get your investment will dwindle with taxes. You gotta just do the long math. You gotta get out a piece of pen and paper and do the math and see if it's worthwhile, and then also factor in the risk if we're gonna have some crazy socialist regime that starts seizing people's houses. Because I would want a nice house. I'd want the type of house that a socialist regime would want to seize. They'd take one look at my white ass and say, you know what, these should be condos for communities.